Harold Theus was hired as an EMT firefighter by Alachua County Fire Rescue on August 1st, 1994. He has risen through the ranks throughout his 28-year career with Alachua County, and he is in his fourth year as fire chief. Harold has a bachelor's degree in public safety administration from Santa Fe College and is a certified public manager. He serves on several local and statewide emergency medical and fire service advisory boards and is the first vice president for the Florida Fire Chiefs Association. A native Floridian, he is originally from Orange Park, Florida. He has been married to his wife, Laura, for 27 years. They have one daughter who is a graduate of the University of Florida and currently lives in Birmingham, Alabama. He's an active member of Westside Baptist Church, and you can frequently find he and his wife at Gator sporting events, including football, basketball, baseball, gymnastics, and volleyball. Great to see you, Chief. Thanks for dropping by.
It's good to see you. We love our Gator sports.
Yeah, so you work and you go to Gator sports.
We're going to a basketball game tonight, as a matter of fact, so
hey,
yes.
Basketball season is exciting this year.
It is.
I was just thinking the other day, of all the county services, there's no question that one of the absolute core services is when somebody picks up that phone and dials 911. We have to respond. We have to respond as quickly as possible. And I just thought it would be good to talk about. It's been a while since we've chatted, so I wanted to give people an overview of your department, but also talk about some very current events. So let's start with fire protection, firefighters.
Sure.
Tell us about that service.
So we have a full-service fire department, and Alachua County Fire Rescue really is responsible and charged with covering the unincorporated areas of Alachua County, along with the small municipalities. Many of the small municipalities, either through direct service of fire protection or in agreements with local fire service providers of those communities.
Those are the mutual aid
Yeah, the
agreements?
Micanopy, High Springs, Newberry, La Crosse, they have their own municipal fire departments, but we assist them and they assist us in a fire service agreement that we established many years ago. So it's a very cohesive membership that we have back and forth to make sure that the citizen gets the best service that they possibly can in a timely fashion.
And some municipalities you actually contract with.
We do.
Are the
Right.
fire service.
And some, right, exactly. Archer is one, Waldo, those are areas in Hawthorne. We actually provide direct services in those communities. And then also in those unincorporated areas, and there's a lot throughout Alachua County when you think about it. It's 963 square miles, and so it's a big county to cover. Obviously, we have a great partnership with the City of Gainesville's fire department right in the center of Alachua County. And so we really work seamlessly with each other to make sure that we provide coverage.
And speaking of fire, we also have the fire marshal for the county. Tell us a little bit about his duties.
His duties are expanding each and every day with this new development that's continuing in Alachua County. The growth has just been astounding. And so we've added a fire prevention officer in that division last year, plans to add some in the future. So his main responsibility is to make sure that all the new construction and existing construction is up to fire codes to make sure that people are safe. Sprinkler systems, things like that are very important.
So you all are part of the development review process along with growth management and environmental protection?
We are. We work very closely with growth management and the building department to make sure that these new developments that are going in, these commercial projects that are happening, that they're adequately protected.
I see those signs whenever I go into a building where it says, the fire marshal says you can only have this many people.
Yes.
So is that a service we provide if you're wanting to understand your capacity?
It is. Regulated by the state and by the Florida Fire Prevention Code, we have those things in place. And then our fire prevention office can do those. And they can do inspections of apartment complexes or businesses. We do annual inspections of most facilities anyway. But if someone requests an inspection, we can certainly come out there or just offer advice and guidance.
I see. Now, fire is a little more complicated. We cover the unincorporated area, some cities. We have different arrangements. But ambulance service is completely different. So tell us about the EM services.
Yeah, so our emergency medical services is a direct care provision that the county does throughout all of Alachua County. There's one EMS service in Alachua County. It's Alachua County Fire Rescue. And we do that through 15 rescues that are assigned throughout the county, and they're in duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also have a peak load division, which is a little a specialty unit, if you will. They have 5 peak load units that are in service 6 days a week at staggering times during the day, depending on how busy we are. And those individuals really specialize in critical care and in interfacility transports from hospital to hospital or from acute care centers to hospitals. And so that's a specialized group that we have really to meet the needs of our community.
Where does the peak load division live?
Oh, they're housed out of one of our stations.
Oh, okay.
But most commonly, they're on the road. Because they're on the road 13 hours a day, they don't necessarily have a base unit station. Now, we try to put them in different areas depending on call load as throughout the day. But for the most part, they're floating around on their 13-hour shifts.
Chief, I know the E911 service is under your jurisdiction also. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it is. And so our E911 services, it's a little known part of Alachua County and the services that we provide, but really a very important one. E911 service is responsible for everyone's physical address.
Right.
And so as all these new developments that we spoke of earlier are going into place, those developers work with our E911 service department to make sure that they have the correct numerical address, so it's in a sequential order so that people know how to get there. They have to communicate with Google and with MapQuest and all of them to make sure these addresses are correct, and of course the post office too.
And our county is kind of a grid in some ways, so you have to try to make it make sense with everything around it.
There's a lot of great things that come with a grid.
Yeah.
Addressing is something that's a little more complicated when you have a grid because of all the numerical addresses and how they progress out from the center, northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest. Another thing they do is GIS services, Geographic Information Services, and so they are responsible for plotting all of those addresses on these particular layers of maps. And so it's a really complicated field, and a very necessary field that the county provides its services.
And I know your folks over there are just top notch and
really are.
Win awards all the time.
They do. Really proud of them. They do a great job. In fact, our E911 coordinator just got appointed to the governor's board for a statewide E911 board. So we're very proud of him, Keith Godwin.
Yeah. I know every once in a while you even have to change addresses to make everything.
Yeah.
Am I making that up, or have
No,
I noticed that
times,
over the years?
Yeah, there are times when we have to change addresses. Yeah, because the infrastructure just calls for it, and that's difficult for the people that have their addresses changed, and it's also difficult for us in the system.
But ultimately, it's about getting emergency services where they need to go.
It is. They communicate directly with the dispatch center, and so that's the goal behind all of that, is that emergency services know where they're going, has the correct address, and so it's very, very important.
And as if you didn't have enough on your plate, you're also in charge of emergency management, aren't you?
Emergency management. And really, I have a great EM director. Jen Grice has been in position now for a couple of years. She's doing a fantastic job. We had a couple of hurricane scares this year, Hurricane Ian, Hurricane Nicole, and she did a fantastic job. But you know, that crew all day long prepares for these types of disasters, and they also train us, you know, as far as county government and all of the different departments in the county. They have a responsibility to make sure that we're able to respond to those emergencies, but also as a county stand up for mitigation factors after the storms. It's very important.
I can tell you, whenever I report to the EOC, and this year was a great example of it, it's just so comforting, the presence of your professionals that work in that office. They really know what they're doing, and they're constantly training us on what to do. So it's a great crew you have over there.
They do a fantastic job.
We haven't spoken for quite a while, so I know there's a lot of new stuff going on. Where would you like to start? I know. Go.
Yeah, there's a lot that we've done in the last 3 or 4 years in our organization, really just trying to either streamline our processes or make the organization better, all in an effort to provide better services to the citizen. Whether that's the training division and some of the huge changes we've made in there, or just ordinary everyday changes of putting people in different stations and reassignments, and how we schedule people has changed. But I think some of the biggest accomplishments we've had really in our training division is we decentralized our training. We now have lieutenants that are assigned to training that work a 24-hour shift, so that they're responding to calls with other crews, and they can see real time some of the training needs that we have. You know, we're not always at that call at 3 o'clock in the morning, but oftentimes they are.
Right.
And so they can identify different gaps that we have. And so it really provides us to have an efficient training method to get the information to our crews that they really need.
And you're teaching technical things in-house, right? Like I think rope rescue,
Right.
and tell me about
So
that.
we've really tried to expand what we can offer to our employees for training services. You know, traditionally we go to a fire college in Ocala or in Lake City or Jacksonville to get those classes. We've tried to bring those classes here in-house. And so in the last couple of years we've offered rope rescue, we've offered vehicle machinery rescue, which is a vehicle extrication class. We've offered company officer classes. Those things that we can work to do in-house so that we can educate our employees and make them better. So we've really worked hard to try to do that.
Chief, what is the blue card? I've heard about that kind of on the periphery. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the Blue Card originated in Arizona, and Blue Card is a communication tool that is used on the fire grounds when it comes to fireground tactics. And so that everyone, the incident commander, along with all of the firefighters and the lieutenants, are speaking the same language. And so we have different processes. It's almost as if you compared a football team having different play calls that are announced by the quarterback. That's what Blue Card does. We've done that along with the city of Gainesville, and that way we can communicate the same way when we arrive on a structure fire together. And it really provides a much safer environment and a much more accountability type of environment for our crews to keep them safe.
I know you've got this great cooperation with the Lofton Center. So has that become your primary training facility? And tell me about that physical nature of that facility.
Yeah, it has. It's a great relationship with the school board.
Yeah.
And at the Lofton Center, we have a training tower that we've really made some nice expansions over the last few years. We've added Connex boxes so that we can have, basically we call them burn boxes. You put pallets in there and you can burn them and you can simulate heat, you can simulate a structure fire of a home, but also stairwells that we've added to it so that we can model the idea of going up an apartment complex stairwell and deploying hose lines, all those types of things to prepare our crews if we should have such an event like that in real life. It's a great training ground, and it's been a great partnership with the school board.
You know, we did a video recently where I think the county manager, Lieberman, took part in the training program.
She did. She did. We put her in bunker gear, and she got to experience some of that.
Speaking of new, I know you've got a new location and a new great cooperation with the state on the grounds of Takachali.
We do. We were in a fire station with Gainesville for about 40 years, and the space that we had there with the City of Gainesville crew, it was just cramped. And I had ridden on that rescue years ago, and we were able to reach an agreement with the state of Florida at the Takachali location to house a rescue unit there. They've really rolled out the red carpet for us, and they like us being there. In fact, we're involved in their Christmas gift exchange with some of the residents that live there, and really been kind of adopted in their community in a really positive way, just to show that partnership between county and state has been nice.
And of course, you're still in the neighborhood. That old fire station was right at kind of Waldo and 8th Avenue.
Yes.
And the new one is just kind of across Waldo and down a little bit.
Yes.
I know, speaking of new, that you've got some great new equipment on your units. I know we've done some coverage of those, but tell us what's on the ambulances.
On the ambulances and the fire engines, we've added new, improved equipment, and really in that effort to try to just increase the level of service we provide to the community. One of the big purchases that we made last year was the Lucas device, which is a chest compression device, and an expensive piece of equipment, but we put it on every rescue unit, and that ensures that there is automatic chest compressions that are mechanical in nature. You don't have any user errors. One of the biggest things that the American Heart Association has discovered in CPR is that we don't have deep enough compressions and they're not consistent and long enough. And so this has eliminated that situation. So we now have the Lucas device. We've also made huge improvements in our stretchers, the type of stretchers that we carry, and the lifting devices that go into our trucks that decrease back injuries on the job and provide for a safer transport for the patients. And then also on the fire engine, we've added just all types of different, it may seem small to the public, but really important equipment to us, whether it's devices to be able to get into people's homes, as far as these locking devices to try to make entry into homes, but also into vehicle accident extrication equipment. We've made increases in that each and every year for the last 3 years. So there's been a lot of additions that we made to our apparatus to improve the equipment that we're carrying on them.
I know you've also added a couple of 24-hour rescue units recently. Tell us about that.
We have, over the last couple of years, we have one we put at the Taco Charlie location. So there's actually 2 rescues now that are along Northeast Waldo Road at that location. That was Rescue 34 that was added. And then we also added Rescue 36 on the southwest side of the city. And so we're really excited about those units. They've been a great need and a great help. We actually have budget funding for another rescue unit to go in service. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on.
So, Chief, I know you've been dealing with some extraordinary challenges over the last couple of years. I watched on a daily basis as you and your department dealt with the COVID challenges. Tell me what you were dealing with there.
Yeah, and a challenge like we've never faced before, right? And having these daily phone calls with hospital administration of census counts and the health department and CDC and county government, and trying to navigate through that really for a long period of time to make sure that you're providing the best service you can, but you're also keeping your employees safe.
Yeah.
And then also helping the employees navigate through that. I mean, we had so many guidelines and so much more scrutiny now that they were under, that it was very challenging to our direct care provider, not only in our hospitals, but also in the EMS and fire world. I mean, going to a call and all of a sudden having to mask up and gown up, only sending one individual in a house, trying to get a patient to come out of a house so you have a more, a better environment to breathe in instead of in someone's home. Those were all enormous challenges, and it really led to some significant problems throughout the state of Florida, and I'm sure throughout the country, in regards to fire department retention. There was a mass exodus of individuals that were eligible for retirement, and it became an industry that people weren't quite as ready to jump into as in years past. And so we've been very busy trying to deal with that and trying to manage it. And not just us. It's really, I'm heavily connected through the Florida Fire Chiefs Association. In fact, we do retention and recruitment caucuses throughout the state. We've done a number of them. And we're developing some documentation and some research to publish so that we can talk about some of the challenges that we've had in the state of Florida and why they're there and what are we looking at in the future. As the state of Florida grows and as fire departments throughout the state of Florida expand, are we certifying enough firefighters and paramedics to fill the need?
I have been watching as you have, gone from one thing to the next, trying to figure out how to kind of attack the staffing issue. It's not just fire rescue, obviously. It's a nationwide problem, but you all have had particular challenges. I know it got so bad at one point that you had to do, and I know you hated doing it, but you actually had to brown out some units. Tell me what a brownout is.
It's probably one of the toughest things that I've had to do as the fire chief is to brown out a rescue unit. And so we did. We browned out Rescue 24 in the Jonesville area for about 7 months, and we evaluated on a daily basis before that unit was browned out. If we didn't have sufficient staffing for that day, we couldn't put it in service. And really it came down to providing the service to our citizen, but also trying to look after the well-being of our employees. We don't have the luxury of when someone calls in sick to just not have that unit that day. So we end up mandatorying our personnel. And we had reached a critical point to where we were mandatorying so much that our employees were simply just exhausted. And then that just exacerbates your retention problem. Because you end up not wanting to come to work and trying to find another career instead of going through this on a daily basis. And so it was a significant challenge for us for it felt like forever, for a long time. But for 7 months we dealt with that. And we also browned out some of our peak load trucks. And so we're just now recovering from those days. We still have mandatory overtime, and quite honestly, none of it's acceptable to me. I always want to eliminate that mandatory overtime. Forcing people to work is not the thing to do. But we have to keep units in service. So I have to weigh that constantly, that balance.
The positive side of this discussion is you all came up with really a very innovative program, and the county commission was very supportive of it. So tell us about Kelly Days, Chief.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes through storms, you end up with really good solutions, and you end up with something that works. And we had tried a number of things. We had tried incentives, we had tried bonuses, and none of those things were working. And what we learned was that our people were really crying out for help of a work-life balance. They didn't want to be at work all the time, no matter how much money that you paid them. Right. And so I had had conversations with fire chiefs down south, and the term Kelly Day is a term that's used that provides our firefighters with more time off. And traditionally, firefighters work 24 hours on and 48 hours off, which means every third day they're coming to work. And what the Kelly Day does is every 7th shift, they have an automatic day off. So that means that every 3 weeks they have 5 days off in a row. And it gives them that chance to kind of rest and recuperate from those busy shifts that they've been running. Now there's an expense to that, and that's where the Board of County Commission came in, and really our local 3852 of the International Association of Firefighters, we really worked hard over months to try to develop this Kelly Day program, this idea, through contractual negotiations. And the Board of County Commission was very supportive of it. And so we were able to reach an agreement in October, and from that agreement and from the Kelly Day, there's a lot more staff you have to hire to cover that Kelly Day. And so we advertised to hire 33 additional firefighters. We hired them on January 3rd, but many of them required additional training. And so they'll be released, fully released at the beginning of May. And so our Kelly Day will actually be effective on May 22nd. And we are very excited about it. We're one of the only agencies north of I-4 that has a 3-week Kelly Day. And so it's something really to be proud of as a local community, to be innovative like that and to really care for your first responders. And that's what we see in this Kelly Day. So I couldn't be more excited about it. I'm very happy about it.
So the response has been pretty good from what I understand in terms of attracting new employees.
Yeah, it really has.
Yeah.
So years leading up to the Kelly Day, when we were really in the storm, we would advertise and we'd get 15 or 20 applicants, and maybe a handful would be fully certified. Well, this time we had over 120 applicants. Now, not all of them were fully certified,
right,
but much more than we had ever experienced in the last few years. So that's exciting. Now, we've had some attrition since then, and so we're getting ready to advertise again this next week. We have a few openings, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to get when we start putting those applications out there of what individuals are interested to come work for us. It's really a great opportunity for them.
Such great news. You know, we're running out of time, but I wanted to make sure we get to some of the new projects you have coming on. So tell us what's new.
So I'll do it real quick. Okay. Southwest 24th Avenue building construction. Station 80, the engine that was formerly at Southwest 43rd Street and 20th Avenue, is moving out to Southwest 24th Avenue, about the 10,000 block, near Queen of Peace. And so we have broken ground on a property there. That station will be built in 8 or 9 months. We're very excited about that. We'll have an engine and a rescue located at that station.
I think we're doing the groundbreaking
February
week after
22nd,
next. Yeah.
We are. We're having a groundbreaking. And then we're getting ready to start a construction project in Alachua to move the station from the center of Alachua more to the other side of the interstate along 173rd Street, up there just south of 441. And so we should be breaking ground on that project in spring of this year. The tax collector had a building on Northwest 441 and 34th Boulevard, and they moved across the street into a larger building, and so they gave the building back to the county. We're making that a training center. And so we have a lot of building projects that are currently in the process right now. We're very excited about those building projects.
Now, are you doing training for other departments, or is it strictly for our own?
We're doing some for our own, but we're also entering an agreement with the city of Newberry.
Oh.
They have some property out there, and they've asked if we could help them with building a training tower out there, which would help us also, because right now our west side engines have to come all the way to the Lofton Center.
Oh, okay.
And so if there's a training tower in Newberry, and so it's a cooperative program between the city and the county to have a training center out there.
Tell me about the Tele911 program.
So Tele911 is a program where the patients that we arrive on, when we arrive on scene of a medical call and someone has low acuity symptoms, and let's For example, maybe they've got the flu, or they have a cold, or they have some prescription medications that need to be refilled, something like that, where a physician can speak to them and resolve that issue without having them to go to the ER. That's what tele 911 is. And so we are actually, when we go into the home, we are activating a physician online through a video feed. We give them the information about the patient, their vital signs, their medical history, their chief complaint, and then that physician talks to that patient right then and there.
It's a two-way video.
It is. It's a two-way video.
You're Zooming?
Yes. Basically, yes. It's a platform.
Yeah.
And so that way the patient can get medical care, really more appropriate medical care than an emergency room.
Right.
And it saves them a trip to the emergency room. It saves the all the people being at the emergency room, right? And so it's really a good program. We're excited about one of the first agencies in the state of Florida to do this tele 911. And so that rolled out a couple of weeks ago. We're actually doing a pilot program with some of our medics right now, and it's been very effective so far.
So Chief, I know we've had some very sad news from our sister agency down in Marion County, and I know it speaks to a much broader national concern for public safety employees. So talk to us a little bit about your recent discussions with Marion County.
Yeah, so we learned, just like everyone else, about what Marion County is going through with their firefighter suicides. And it's really, it's heartbreaking to hear. And it's something that we really pay very close attention to in our service. As you can imagine, in law enforcement, fire rescue, EMS, public safety fields, PTSD is a very real thing. And so we as an agency have a peer support team, we have employee assistance program, we have contracts with UF Health to provide counseling for our employees. And so we take it extremely seriously, and really our hearts and prayers go out to Marion County. That department is really going through some struggles in dealing with that right now. And so it's something that I guess if I could ask the citizen to do one thing, is just always keep their thoughts and prayers with the people that provide that public service. What they do on a daily basis is extremely stressful. The things that they see, the things that they experience are not common, and they're not. They have lasting effects often, and they may appear to be very physically healthy, but emotionally and mentally they may not be. And so we really work hard to try to make sure that we provide the best care that we can to our own employees through those situations.
You know, when we say thank you for your service to public safety people, we need to keep in mind that they're dealing with the things that are most difficult and most traumatic, and whenever we can find a way to express appreciation, that's important. Well, Chief, it's always great to talk to you and to hear what's going on. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the time.
Yeah.